Welcome back to Daily LeetCode. It is day 121. I don't even know what day it is anymore. That being the case, we have our Prison Break drip on right now. Prison Break drip. So you're going to want to make sure to cop the newest Prison Break merch, because today's video is sponsored by Prison Break. And yeah, you're going to want to check out that show. It's also pretty good. We are back once again. Definitely a late session today. It's pretty late after work. My brain is fried. I presume that we will be getting fried by LeetCode as well. Maybe we'll solve some problems. I think not though, because I can't even see straight right now. So we shall see. But that being said, we have some I was going to mention things have been going. So I think we have figured out a cheat code. And I think there's already been stuff mentioned by the buffest scientist on the internet, Andrew Huberman, but by the Huberman Lab podcast, as well as, I think we all know this, and it was also part of another book that I was reading, but I think they ran a study or a test or something like that in another country or another location, maybe even another planet, and I think they were testing whether or not if kids exercise in the morning. So I think they had two groups: kids who had gym class in the morning and kids who had gym class pretty much as their school schedule deemed. It was like midday or something like that, or maybe before lunch, something like that. Besides the point, it turned out that the kids who were exercising in the morning, they're getting some really good exercise in, were actually performing far better than the students who were not. So maybe we just some apes, maybe we just some monkeys, and we need to move, and that gives us more brain sauce. But I have to say, I've been rowing in the morning, and it's been absolutely fire. It is pretty fire, I'm not going to lie. So in 100 days or so, day 1000, we're all going to row across the Atlantic. So you're going to want to start saving up right now, because we're just going to row. We're just going to have thousands of people, hopefully hundreds of thousands of people. We're just going to row across the Atlantic and see what happens. We don't know where we're going. But yeah, the rowing has been going well. So something about exercise in the morning, I think, is something just works. I theorized that if I'd exercise in the morning, it would be a very natural pick-me-up. And that has proven to be the case. So even on some days where I get way suboptimal sleep, if I row or exercise in the morning, it turns me on. Well, that sounds weird, but it turns my brain on. And yeah, it's kind of like a natural caffeine. I don't know, but it's been working really well. And then I've been doing LeetCode after that, which has been working exceedingly well. The only issue, however, is that last night I stayed up a little late hacking on something, and also, I'm gonna be honest, playing Omega Strikers. I should have been doing something else, but I stayed up a little late, so I ended up waking up a little later, which meant that I didn't get to do LeetCode this morning today. All that to say, the schedule's tight, so yeah, there's not a lot of room for. There is room for flexibility, but it really throws things off, and I'm not even asking myself for too much. I'm just messing things up, to be honest. But that being said, we have some questions, or we have some comments by some W humans. I mentioned that I would answer Neil's comment, or we'd talk about it, and I hadn't done it yet, so we're gonna do it today. On day 118, working on things is hard. Neil says, "Can you give me an idea of time frames regarding coding skills? I've been coding now seriously for 2 weeks and can pretty much copy any website, just the HTML and CSS part. This is a good sign. Now I'm trying to learn JavaScript. I'm on higher order functions and iterations." This is hard as hell. I went from doing 8 to 10 lessons a day to only doing 2 to 4, while still spending the same amount of time studying. I'm doing these lessons on Codecademy/Udemy, by the way. Just want to know how much more harder it will get. Will it take 2 weeks to understand something by the time I get to React? What I'm planning to learn is HTML and CSS, JavaScript, and React. I see. Is the JavaScript basically large chunk that will take relatively the most time? What is a good estimation that it'll take to learn JavaScript to a capable level? This is a difficult this is difficult. I mean, to be honest, I'm very much a noob, but yeah, this is a tough question. I mean, I'll try my best, but I don't know if I'm qualified, but this is a tough question. I think there's a mechanical aspect to like problem solving on programming problem solving. I think that part, it's very difficult because you can't really do it sequentially. Like there was a person, I think a few years ago, who documented their journey of learning computer science sequentially, and it took a very long time. They used flashcards to make sure they remembered things, and like they went from like start to finish, from like pretty much zeros and ones to operating systems to AI, like the whole thing. It just takes, I think it just takes too long for the goal. But maybe, I guess to say, I feel like the computer science or the software or the programming bubble, maybe it works the best as like some sort of dendritic process, right? Where you kind of, you learn a little bit about one thing, you learn a little about another thing, and a little bit about another thing, and you sort of create these kind of vines that kind of like tie these things together. And the easiest way to learn would be to kind of slowly, have these vines go together. But the thing that's the part that is tough is just like a tree trunk or a tree root. The thickest part is at the base. So you get a lot of practice at the front, but as you go deeper out, your branches or your vines or whatever, they get a little bit thin. But that's kind of part of the game. But all this to say, the fact that I think you're slowing down to 8 to 10 lessons a day, not only doing 2 to 4 with the same amount of time studying, I mean, that sounds natural to me. I feel like, because it'd be worrisome if you were going at the same pace as you were with the easier content, because then you might then be prioritizing progress instead of like knowledge acquisition, which might not be good. Some parts I think are just going to be slow, but sometimes you got to go slow to go fast. And I feel like that was something I'm still learning, but it took me a long time to learn that I feel like most of the time you have to go slow to go fast. So you might be going slow on these lessons, but I think it has less to do with your ability and more to do with just ingesting new information. And I think as you go slow and take your time, the more time you spend on it, I think it'll definitely start to slot in. But the larger question of when you can learn JavaScript, I think there are people who are like, like staff software engineers at like the top companies in the world that are still learning JavaScript. And maybe that is the thing, because you can't quite entirely learn. Maybe it's hard to know, right? Maybe there's a mechanical aspect to programming where you might be able to learn all the syntax and the special tricks you can do because of the way the AST is interpreted. But maybe there's the other half where like, it's more like artistic, where it's like, oh, you want to structure code like this and it's more maintainable like this. But all this to say, the field is really, really, really broad, and I think it is tough to know. I think if you keep going, you'll definitely end up where you need to go. But I also think that's a hard thing to say, because it's like telling someone to run a marathon, telling someone to just focus on putting their next step, but they don't know how long the marathon's going to be, and they're secretly under the hood running like 100 kilometers or something. But I feel like that's low key how it be. All this to say, I'm just saying a lot of words. I don't know. I'm not exactly certain what the answer here would be. It is tough to know. It is definitely tough to know. The field is so broad. Sometimes learning JavaScript or React, sometimes it's not even about, I guess to explain it, sometimes learning JavaScript and React is not even about learning JavaScript and React. Sometimes it's just about learning how the browser works or how the DOM works. And it's just an interesting thing. But I think if you keep working through the lessons, I think you'll definitely make the progress. And another smart thing someone else has said that I didn't say, but I can also feel like, you're learning infinitely, like when will you be ready sort of thing. But one thing you can do is at the same time you're learning, going through these Codecademy courses, there's also an avenue where it can feel like there's so much to learn, it feels like you'll never stop learning, which is relatively true. But it's different from when you're starting because you're kind of taking these courses and you're trying to get a foothold, and it feels like it's always going to be courses. But maybe you could pair it along with some personal projects or maybe some portfolio projects, and then you could have like general structured learning with compounded by some sort of like dendritic application-based idea. All that to say, the saying goes, learn in the context of a specific problem, then you will naturally stop when you have solved it. So I guess the best of both worlds, maybe. But this is a good question. Something I ask myself too when I'm trying to learn like a new thing, and it's kind of the question like when will I know Rails? And it's hard to know. But the building an application in it recently has been has helped a lot because I'm going so much slower. I make so little progress, but you learn some bit. So I'd be interested to hear what you come up with now if you hit the line. I just talked for like 20 minutes, but we have Zachariah. Good luck in your LeetCode journey. Good. W discovery. W human. I saw it. Edge Runners. I saw it recently. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I think you can directly equivalent the love for a piece of media by its creators to the spectrum of emotions and feelings you have for it. It bleeds out from the work. This person, Brandon, you should write the next season. You have a way with words. That was incredible. True. Yeah, the show is incredible, and the words that Brandon used to describe it, also incredible. Such a colorful range of emotion. Hey man, I recently got into LeetCode ground and found your channel. Your channel has helped me in getting the daily motivation for doing LeetCode. Keep up the great work. By the way, did you work somewhere before? Are you still working? Oh yeah, I'm still working. I would say I have about 1.8 years of experience, or 1.7. So yeah, that's why I was answering the Nile question. I'm not very deep. So yeah, I am still learning. Have about 1.8, 1.7 years. EXP. How about you? Yeah, still learning. So it's pretty cool. Daily motivation. I got a lot of motivation from watching Ivan Jurek squat every day. So hoping to get to his level. We can't talk too crazy because we're only on day 121, so we have a long ways to go. Awin says on Edge Runners is incredible. Day 120 was a 6 show. If anyone knows a similar style, please let me know. Facts. DM us. If anyone knows, DM us both, please. I don't know if we're gonna get anything. I don't know if we're gonna get anything like this for a long time, man. Chainsaw Man just recently dropped. I read the manga; it was incredible. But the show, the 3D, I love 2D animation, so it's hard to lock in on the 3D. But I hope it comes through. Gotta respect the grind. Gotta respect Faker. Can you please tell me how I can study DSA from a free resource, please? And thank you, big fan. Big up. Hey, big ups, yes, sir. Yes, sir, Gauti. Same, man. Can you... Yeah, DSA... If you really want to know how to learn the DSAs, the data structures and algorithms, there's tons of resources on the internet that are far better than I could ever explain. People who have, legendary algorithms who probably already solved all the LeetCode problems. They're deep. They're just frying. So I think there's a lot of resources there, but I definitely know it doesn't always feel accessible watching the videos on how to learn, how they learned. But I think the only thing that's worked for me has been to just kind of dive into it. So, dive in. I would say LeetCode. LeetCode's a pretty good place to learn the DSA. I think if you stick with the easies, because there's a functional aspect where you're just kind of like, okay, recognizing when do I use a set, when do I use a map, when do I use a queue, what do they all do, how are they different. I feel like the easies are so good for that. That's why we do a lot of them, and it's like you learn like a very atomic piece of information about some small part of computer science, which may not be useful often because you're not, combining it, in something larger like a medium where it can feel like you're combining these like really random things together to make it make sense. But I feel like LeetCode Easies are a good place to start. Or someone mentioned the Euler Project and Code Wars. But I feel like the LeetCode, starting with the LeetCode Easies to wet your feet, LeetCode Easies to wet your feet, and then algorithms, the Algorithm Design Manual by Siena. I think those two together, and you have the Grind 75, the NC 150. I feel like all that stuff together is just really cool. But how to study, the one that works for me is struggle as much as you can, and then hopefully you can get a small hint from someone, and then try to get the smallest hint that you can possibly get, and then struggle some more. And then for some reason, struggle seems to be a really good encoder for knowledge. So I would be the best that I could do, but it's hard to know. It's really hard to know for certain. We're just trying to learn more as well, so iterate on the learning processes. But I'm thinking of going to 2 sessions a day, but it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen if we do that, since not a lot. I'd like to make the schedule work right now for certain first before we start adding all this stuff to it, but we shall see. That being said, what we will see about? We'll see about getting you into the HCC. So you're going to want to join the Hyperbolic Coding Chamber, which is a Discord where we have hundreds of thousands of algorithms joining the Discord every single day, and they're just solving algorithms. And if you don't join, there might not be any algorithms left to solve. There might not be any algorithms left to be solved. So you're going to want to join before we solve all of them so you can get some practice in. And the link is in the description below. Maybe I should try and make it more interactive. I just send like a weird GIF when people join the Discord. So yeah, it would be cool. But yeah, we're going to jump into some LCs today. Oh, it's 7:43. We're going to do an hour. By the time it ends, it's going to be 8:43. And we still have to build today. So we're going to do an hour. And let's jump into it. We're still going to be doing LC Easies. And I think also as well, we're going to start using C++. Maybe we'll just use C. I feel like now we need to use C++ because C would be crazy. I mean, C++ would be crazy. I mean, C would be crazy. But yeah, we don't have a lot of data structures. So we're going to try this one in TypeScript. A string can, oh yeah, I remember this. A string can be abbreviated by replacing any number of non-adjacent, non-empty substrings with their lengths. The lengths should not have leading zeros. For example, a string such as substitution could be abbreviated as, and they said, it can be abbreviated by replacing any number of non-adjacent, non-empty substrings with their length. So for here we have S10N, and this is a valid substitution, but they're not limited to. We have sub 4, which would replace stit U, and then 4, which would replace ION. So I think we could make this make sense. And the following below are not valid abbreviations. We have S55N, right? This is because we have 55 because the replaced substrings are adjacent. But it looks like if the number is greater than, it's pretty much saying 55, and I think the real issue is that the number is greater than the length of the string. Because how do we know that the string isn't 57 characters long and we're replacing? Yeah, we'll have to, I'm gonna copy this one to make sure. Oh wait, yeah, that's a good video, I think. Let me double check. Oh yeah, but what is going on? For some reason we can't copy. So we'll make sure to include this just so we don't forget. And this has leading zeros, and it's not allowed to have that. So we're gonna make sure to handle that. And then, right, replaces an empty substring. We can't have an empty substring. So we're given a string word and an abbreviation aber. Return whether the string matches the given abbreviation. I think what they're saying is return whether abbreviation is a valid abbreviation of word. Right, and the explanation is the word internationalization can be abbreviated as this. So I think there's a method we could go about doing this that I think would be a validation-based method. So there's one method I think we could do where we try and generate all possible substitutions, which would be crazy. And then we can just check if aber exists. To probably take a lot of time, probably take a lot of space. Another version we can do is just validate the string. And one way I'm thinking of doing that, right? So we also see that we have Apple here. A to E can't be a valid abbreviation because we didn't use up all the letters, so it doesn't quite make sense. So I want to make sure that we handle these specific cases that are a bit wonky. Word length is always at least one character. It's always lowercase characters. Aber has a minimum length of 1. Also lowercase letters and digits. All the integers in Aber will fit in a 32-bit integer. Acceptance rates on this isn't really high. Does it have a lot of downvotes? It does. So maybe this is harder than it seems. Version I'm thinking of is a validation-based version where we have something like internationalization in I-12. And what we'll do is we'll just iterate through both strings simultaneously, right, with aber leading the way. Or we'll check, right, if the character at the index is a letter, we'll check if they match. If they match, we're good. Then, if the next character is a number, then we'll parse the number. So we get 12. We parse a valid number, so we have to parse a valid number. Iterate through both strings. If car number, parse number, check if valid number. Now if it's a valid number, which means no leading zeros, right, it's not greater than the length. The current index we're on plus the length is not greater than the total length of the string, right? And we seem to be good, so we can skip forward to 12 indices. We can just go to the next non-number index, and then for internationalization, we'll skip 12 characters ahead. We'll check if I and Z match, they're good. We find an integer, right, which is 4. We skip 4 ahead, right, and we check and we reach the end, we return true. So at the end, I think we can return true. Now for these, we know this one would fail, right, because if when we parse it as a valid number, it would be invalid. This would be an invalid number, so it would fail. This would also trigger an error as an invalid number, so we'd be good there as well. A to E would not trigger an invalid error, but when we get to E, it would not match with L, right? Because it's Apple, and this would be A to E, 4 characters, and it would be L. So we can try a version of this. And I think it's just going to be a two-pointer version. So we'll just say word IDX equals 0, aber IDX equals 0. I'm treating this like this is Ruby. This is JavaScript. And we want to iterate through both strings. Best way to do this, I don't think we need to iterate through both strings now that I'm thinking about it. We just need to iterate through abbreviation, and we'll do this through is less than aber.length. That way we can control when it goes up and down. Now what we want to do right now, what we can do is check if aber sub aber idx, which would give us a letter, actually we can do something like this instead. We can do car code at, and we'll just do aber idx, and what we'll do is just check the character code, and it's all going to be lowercase. So we can just check. We can actually just create a function up here. Is letter, which will take a car, which will be a string, which will return a boolean, and maybe we'll just ask. Maybe actually be a car code, or actually we can just make it a character. Yeah, we'll just make it a character, and we can just say car. We can just return if car.car code at 0. And I'm realizing this is changing slightly. We'll just say if code is greater. Right, it's a letter. The lowercase value for letter, if it's an ASCII, I think it's 65. If it's greater than, if code is greater than or equal to 65, and code is greater than or is less than or equal to 65 plus 26, which would be 80. No, 65 plus 6 is 71 plus 20 is 91. And we'll do is just say is letter aber sub aber idx. If it's a letter, now if it's a letter and aber sub aber idx does not equal word sub word idx, then we'll return false. Right now, yeah, I think we want to change this just a tad to a subcase like this. I think this is fine. Right, else, right, it is a number. So if it's a number, then we want to say number equals parse number. And this is going to return the number as well as next next IDX we'll just call next letter IDX, and we'll call it parse number, and what we'll just pass in is aber and aber IDX. And so now we'll write another function called function parse number. It's going to take aber, which is going to be a string, and the IDX, which is going to be a number, and it's going to return a tuple of number and the next IDX, which is a number. So we have IDX, which means that the current index we're at is a number. So we kind of have something like 1, right? And basically, we're just going to say that numster, right, equals an empty string. And we're just going to say while aber, while we'll just call this cur IDX, while cur IDX is less than aber.length and aber sub cur ID. Basically, the letter is not an index. We're going to do cur IDX plus equal 1. So while cur IDX is less than aber.length and the current index in aber is not, or the abbreviation is not a letter, which means it's a number. Right, then what we're going to want to do is we're going to say the number is going to be equal to aber dot substring, which is going to start at IDX. We could have just called this start IDX, which might be easier. Start IDX, and we can actually just instead cur IDX. It's fine. I think we just call it cur IDX. I actually don't know if substring is and 0 up to but not including, so I think we should be good. So here it would return aber substring and cur IDX. I'm not understanding why type string is not assignable to type number. Yeah, it's gonna have to end up being a string. So it could have a leading 0. In that case, we don't want to use it. Or we could just return a triple. Let's say string number number. So we'll have the num string and num string dot parse int. We could have num string number and next letter IDX, and then I think we'll just print num string number and next letter IDX. And now we just need to move the indexes. So here we have a parse number, which means ideally we just got the next letter IDX. So I think we want to say aber IDX plus equal, oh no, would be equal to next letter IDX. And then we basically want to move word IDX up next letter IDX minus aber IDX before we update it. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens. So let's just say, for example, we run it for S55N. Aber and word are equal to 0. 0 is less than 4. Is aber sub 0 a letter? It is. Okay. So does aber IDX not equal word? So word IDX, S does equal S. Right. So we go to the next thing. And so I guess here we could just say word IDX plus equal 1 and aber IDX plus equal 1. Right. And then we'd now be at U because the word is substitution and 5. And so we say, okay, is aber sub aber IDX a letter? It's not. We go to else. We parse the number with aber being S55N and aber IDX being 1. So cur IDX start equals 1, while cur IDX, which is 1, is less than 4, and aber sub 1 is not a letter. So we'll add 1. We're now going to go to 2, 0, 1, S55N 0, 1, 2. Okay, 2 is still less than 4, and it's still not a letter. Then we go to N. So cur IDX is going to be 0, 1. Cur IDX is actually going to be 0. It's going to be 3. We say aber create a substring starting from the starting index, which was 1, up to and excluding the last index, which should give you 55. Num string parse int 55 and cur IDX, which would be 3. Then we'd say word IDX, which was 1, plus equal next letter IDX, which is 3, minus aber IDX, which was 1, which is 2. It puts us at 3. Aber IDX. So let's see what we get when we click run. And we should just get output that says 55. I'm using the wrong text case. The word I'm going to use is substitution. I'm going to use S55N. So what I'm printing is actually S55N. So when we do parse number, clearly something's going a little bit awry. Start cur IDX is equal to start IDX. Indicate zero base. So from start IDX to cur IDX. This is strange. What we end up printing is S55, which means is letter must be failing. I think it should be 64. Console.log aber sub aber id x, and then we'll actually just print is letter aber sub aber idx. Yeah, so something is definitely wrong because S is definitely a letter and we're getting false. I'm doing car code at, when we pass in is letter average of average idx. I thought it was between 64, but maybe it's not. We can just check. If we just do code at 0. Oh, I see where we messed up. 64 is where capital A starts. We actually want to do 91 plus 26, which would give us 117. No, it wouldn't. 91 plus 6 would give us 97. No, wait, this would be 117. But lowercase s. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, I forgot it was, yeah, that was my bad. So it's good to know that most of the code we wrote was good. It's just we messed up on one specific part, which was character codes. 91 to 117, we won't forget that. 55, I mean 55 and 3. I forgot where I was going with this. Because that little debugging sesh. 55, 55, 3. Oh yeah, we have the number now. Now we want to make sure it's a valid number. So we run it, and I think we're not making sure that it's a valid number right now. Let me just make sure we pick it up. We're picking up 12, 12, 3. And what is 3 again? 3 is the next letter IDX. Oh no, yeah. The number of characters we want to move word IDX for is actually going to be the literal number, only if it's valid. right? Because we have 12 here. We want to move this one 12 characters up. So for at 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we should end up with IZ. And our is letter is messing up again. 91 plus 26 is 117. Maybe it should be 118. For some reason we're getting Z4. Getting Z4. I should have left the thing for if it's a letter. Just do console.log aver_sub aver_idx is letter aver_sub. So we do say that I in institutionalization is a letter, but then Z is not a letter. I was actually gonna search lowercase z character code, but lowercase a is actually 98. Or just all, oh man, lowercase a is actually 98. Which means if we add 26 to that, we get 124. And I think if we add the test case of something like, if we add a 0 here, our thing should return true, but the actual answer should be false, I think. Right, so it expected false and we return true. So I think the last thing we just have to do if numster sub 0 equals 0, return false. So if it has a leading 0, then we would return false. Oh, we forgot about the adjacent part. Oh man. No, wait. Wait, what's wrong with this one? Oh, right. And I think the last thing we want to do, because I think what's happening here, we're adding 11 and we go past, which means our loop ends, so we return true. here we just want to make certain. Gotta think. I should have wrote down all the cases in the beginning. Want to make sure that word IDX so we can still return true here. And then one more thing we can just do is if numster if deleting 0 or word IDX plus number. So word IDX here word IDX here would actually be at I5A. If you add 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, what is going on here? I should have kept the thing open. I returned false, and this is actually true. So why did I return false? Subtract 5, then we add 5 to word IDX. So we had 0. We had index 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, no. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it'd actually be at A because we added 1 because I matches for both. Ab IDX would equal next letter IDX. I don't want to just print it and figure it out. Why did we return false? I5 A1101. Why did we return false? We have I going over 5. So what if we have a trouble passing? No, well, we have other test cases that have singular numbers. So let's just run it. We have both starting at 0. Is it a letter? It is. Are they both pointing at I? They are. So we add 1 to both. Go to the next index. Go to the next iteration. Now 5 is not a letter, so we go to else. Numster number, next letter. Go to parse number. Aber is the string here. Start index is 1. Car IDX equals 1. Well, 1 is less than 7. And Aber is not a letter. Car index plus 1. Oh, I see. Microphone. I think the issue is right here with substring. Next number indicating the beginning of the substring, indicating the end of the substring. The substring includes the characters up to equals 0. Wait, no, it would be equal to 1. I think the reason this is not changing is because this is fine the way it is. Next letter ID X is current index. which is index 2. And then we do word IDX plus the number, which is 5. So 1 plus 5 would give us 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not understanding why these two are at odds. We handle 5. Oh, we are 1 forward already. So we're at A. We're at A in word. No, we're at N in word. Wait, what is going on? Basically, after 5, we end up comparing O in Aber, O in the abbreviation, and N in the word. This doesn't make any sense. Oh, we really are fine. I see. Or we're skipping the boundary. I handle 5. But I should be at A. That's what I don't understand. My num string is 5A11. It's not including lowercase a. Maybe it's 97. Oh wait, I think we forgot. There was one more thing we needed to check. for one word characters. So yeah, the one thing, we should, so many lessons, it might just because my brain is fried. If we do word IDX plus the number, and it's greater than because word IDX is 0 plus number, which is 2, it should be greater than the word length. It should be equal to the word length. For example, if the word ABC and you come out, the last character is 1, you do 2 plus 1, now it'd be equal to the word's length. So we run this again for the test case. A and 1, we should right, but if we change this to, I can't change it anymore. Oh, if we change this to 2, it should fail and we should pass. And we want to make sure that word IDX is equal to word dot length. I see. So if we remove the console.logs, and resubmit it, okay, 88%. It's not bad. I think this runs in linear time, even though we have a while loop here, and in the parse number, right, we have a while loop. Ultimately, the index that comes out prevents us from duplicating the work, so it should be O of aber. So aber number of operations, which, yeah, I guess that would be linear time, because aber could just be the length of the word. I see why there's a lot of dislikes on this. This is definitely a lot more involved, and the edge cases are a little sticky. But there definitely should be a better way to, in the space, I think the space would just be constant space, since we're just using some variables that shouldn't scale with size, with input. I'm going to give it a thumbs up though. That was a pog question. Okay. I'm pretty sure we just did the same thing. Right? If it's a letter, right? And then if it is a letter, does it match? It's a little different, but I think it's about the same approach. So I think we'll take that, and I think actually we're going to wrap it up there, because we're already at 1 hour and 9 minutes. So I think we'll wrap it up there for now, because my brain is fried.